grade 4s. This is Mrs. Imrie, David's mom, and I'm here to talk to you guys about photography a little bit because that's going to tie in very nicely with your light UOI. And photography is all about recording and creating pictures using light. Photography is derived from two Greek words. The first one is photos, which means light. The second part of the word, graphe, which is drawing, or could also be described as painting. So it's actually the art and science of creating images by recording light using a camera. Okay, so here's a little history of how cameras used to work and how they work still, and just some of the changes that we've had. So this is my first camera, and in the old days you would put film in a camera, and this film was covered with a silver particle solution, so silver halide, and you put this into here and you stretch it across, and this was all light sensitive. And when this opened and closed, when you operated the camera, and it would let light hit your film, and that would record the image for you. And then you would take this, you'd have to keep this wrapped up in here nice and dark, because if you let the light get on it, it would wreck your pictures. Then you take this to a special lab and they would develop it in a chemical solution, which would wash away some of the particles and leave the exposed particles developed, and that would create your picture. And nowadays we don't use the film like this anymore in chemicals, but cameras still operate very similar to that. But now they put it on a card and it's all recorded digitally rather than on a roll of film. And so you put your card in, and when you turn your camera on, light comes through the lens and into the back of the camera. And there's a series of mirrors inside there. And when you take a picture, this opens up and it lets the light in to record, and then it closes again. So that's kind of how a camera works. And of course, a lot of you are using phones, and it's similar. You've got your camera here, and same thing, the light's coming in and being recorded digitally on a card. Now, these kind of cameras have a lot of settings, so you can change how much light and how you're going to manipulate that light. This is a little more limited to how you can change those settings, but it's still doing the same job.
So we know that photography is using light to create an image, and a little bit of how a camera works. So now, what are some of the qualities of light, and how does light change, and how does the changing light affect a photo we're taking? Well, one of the big main ones that is often talked about is the golden hour. Now, the golden hour is described as the hour after sunrise or an hour before sunset. So you know, at the early morning or the very late evening, how the light gets nice and golden, as you can see in this photo, how the light has lit up all these trees that are covered in pollen in the spring and made them all golden looking. And how in this sunrise early morning picture, how the leaves of the fall trees are lit up extra brightly, looking all golden from the golden hour light. We also have the blue hour, which is after the sun sets, about an hour or so after the sun sets, or an hour before sunrise. Everything kind of has blue look to it. There's light in the sky, but there isn't really much bright color yet. So you can see in these ones it's very blue, and definitely a blue cast to all the pictures. And then this photo I took in the same spot as the sun was coming up and the moon was going down. So you can see now we have sunrise. The sun rising was lighting up the clouds and creating some nice pink colors. And then the same spot, about an hour afterwards, it was all, you can see there's a golden color to the light now. The field is all lit up, golden looking. And so that went from blue hour to golden hour. Here in this golden hour early morning photo, you can see how the light is nice and soft, and there's a bit of a warm color to it. And it also, because the sun is low in the sky, it gives a lot of nice texture to the mountains. There's shadows on one side, and they're just really nicely lit. And you can see the textures and everything to the hills here as well in the early morning. Same thing, you can see the bit of shadow and detail and texture in the landscape. Now, middle of the daylight, like this photo, shows that you can't see the shadows defining the mountains. It's a little more flat looking. You can't see the shadows defining each hill. So the midday light on this mountain picture is very flat. Same for this one. This one was taken in the middle of the day, right about lunchtime in the summer. And yeah, when the sun is high overhead, it's not really giving any nice shadow definition. The color is bright, but it's not as soft. It's a little more harsh lighting. Of course, cloudy days give us a totally different look and feel to our light as well. Everything's soft and diffused. It can also look dark and moody, and just a really different feel to our pictures on a cloudy day. But you can get some really great, nicely evenly lit shots on a cloudy day as well. Here, this portrait of Brody in the blue hour. You can see there's barely enough light to light him. The snow looks all blue. There's no catch lights in his eyes. So that's not necessarily the most ideal time to take a picture, but just enough light to take a picture in these ones of the kids playing outside. Where this one of David, you can see that the lighting is much nicer for a portrait. His eyes have catch lights in them. His face is nicely lit on this nice diffused overcast day. So we can see how changing light qualities affect our photos and how they look and what we can create and accomplish. And so what are some of the sources of light that we use for photography? Well, we can use, of course, the sun and various versions of that. So overcast light, a cloudy day, bright sun, your golden hour, or just after the sun is set, but there's still light in the sky. So that's all natural light. We can use the moon, although we don't get very much light from it. There's daylight from a window. You can also use reflected light in your photos, so reflecting your light off of snow or reflected light off water or off a wall can help your photos. Of course, artificial light we use can include a flash, can be an overhead lamp, it can be any indoor lights, use a flashlight or headlights or street light. And so there we have some different examples of sources of light and pictures taken with different lights. Here's black light at the bowling alley, and kind of made a neat effect. So you can see what you're able to capture using different kinds of light.